Synthol is, I think, one of the most dangerous things that people can use. Bodybuilder who would use Synthol all over, and they x-rayed them, they took scans, and it looked horrible.
Bodybuilding celebrates strength, but behind the shine of trophies lies a darker truth.
I need to get him to stop injecting. I don't know if I'll be able to accomplish that. I'm really, really nervous that I can't get him to.
Some athletes push past every warning sign, driven by an obsession with size, power, and perfection. They train through torn muscles, shattered bones, and failing hearts, believing nothing can stop them.
Very bad side effects. It can cause problems with your sex drive.
Yet, the body always collects its debt. These are the stories of bodybuilders who defied their limits, ignored the consequences, and paid the ultimate price for chasing greatness. Number 10. Dallas McCarver. While most competitors spend years grinding through small shows, Dallas turned pro at just 21, an age when many are still learning how to balance a barbell. His combination of towering size, southern charm, and stage presence made him stand out immediately. And within a few short years, fans weren't just watching him compete, they were watching a future champion in the making.
Good shape, conditioning was good. I thought the glutes were a little soft tonight. They were not the best I'd seen.
Born on 9th April 1991 in Henderson, Tennessee, Dallas first poured his energy into football. But the weight room called louder. Once he focused on bodybuilding, it didn't take long for people to notice. Wins piled up quickly. The NPC battle at the River Championships, the Hub City Classic, and then the game-changing victory at the IFBB North American Championships in 2012 that earned him professional status. At 6 feet 1 inch tall and pushing nearly 300 pounds, his frame earned him the nickname Big Country, a fitting title for a man who seemed to carry both his roots and his ambition in every step on stage.
Some of the classic poses, well, you could definitely see that he had some food. He looks like he's a little bit filled out, just a little bit.
By 2016, Dallas had broken into the top 10 at Mr. Olympia, cementing himself as one of the sport's brightest young talents. But the following year, at the Arnold Classic Australia, the dream took a haunting turn. Mid-performance, in front of a stunned audience, Dallas collapsed on stage. He later brushed it off, assuring fans he was okay. But the moment left an uneasy shadow. For a sport built on pushing the body beyond limits, the question was unavoidable. Was this the cost? Just months later, on 20 August 2017, that shadow became reality. Dallas was found at home, gone at only 26.
The massive Olympia competitor choked on food. McCarver was pronounced dead at a Florida hospital.
The autopsy revealed his heart was nearly 3 times the normal size. A silent warning that his body had been under immense strain. Doctors called it an acute cardiac event, a sudden end for a man who had seemed unstoppable. Dallas McCarver's story remains both inspiring and tragic. He was proof of how quickly talent and determination can propel someone to the top, but also how fragile the line is between ambition and danger. Number 9. Phil Heath. Phil Heath isn't just another name in bodybuilding. He's a 7-time Mr. Olympia, a man whose physique earned him the nickname The Gift.
Little did I know that Best was going to come against me, and now you are the king.
But even champions have moments where their bodies give in, and one of Phil's most unforgettable moments didn't come on the Olympia stage, but at the NPC Colorado State Bodybuilding Fitness and Figure Championship. The crowd expected fireworks. Phil had been training for months with the same relentless discipline that built his career. Early morning cardio, heavy lifting sessions that stretched late into the night, and strict diets that cut him down to the bone. Every ounce of effort was poured into chiseling a body that fans described as flawless. But behind the stage lights and the cheers, Phil was running on fumes. Endless starvation diets and days of dehydration had left his body in a fragile state. When he stepped on stage, His muscles looked like they were carved from stone, but inside, the strain was bubbling over. Mid-routine, his back seized up. Then came the cramps, thighs, calves, everywhere at once. Suddenly, Phil collapsed. At first, the audience thought it was part of the show. He lay there wincing in pain, silently screaming for help, until it became clear this wasn't choreography. It was his body shutting down. Phil later admitted he felt desperate in that moment, wanting someone, anyone, to lift him back up.
And I think everybody was like, is this part of the routine? And I'm like, no, like someone come up and help me because I can't stand up.
The cramps were so bad he could hardly move. Eventually, a committee member rushed in to help, but Phil wasn't done. He refused to let the night end that way. After catching his breath, he stepped back out, determined to finish and give fans the performance they came for. "I didn't want people leaving with their heads down," he said, showing the same stubborn willpower that had fueled his rise in the sport.
And I came back out because I wanted to prove to the fans, in Colorado that I was okay.
The incident became a lesson he would carry forward. No matter how badly you want to look dry and peeled on stage, the body still needs water, fuel, and respect. For Phil Heath, that collapse was a reminder that bodybuilding is about more than shredded muscles. It's about balance, health, and knowing when to pull back. Number 8. Andreas Munzer. Andreas Munzer looked like a statue come to life, all sharp lines and veins that stood out like roads on a map. Born in 1964 in Austria, he grew up idolizing another Austrian icon, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Inspired by him, Andreas set out to carve his own path in bodybuilding. He became known for showing up leaner than anyone else. By the mid-90s, his reputation was built on a look that seemed almost unreal. At the 1996 Arnold Classic, photos showed striations running across his muscles like piano wires. That contest was a career high, but also the start of something dangerous. Andreas placed 6th in a field stacked with stars, a huge accomplishment. But instead of resting, he pushed even harder. His daily routine was extreme. He kept calories at just 2,000, did 2 cardio sessions every day, and used aspirin to thin his blood. To stay alert, he leaned on stimulants like ephedrine and Captagon. Most dangerous of all, he used powerful diuretics such as Lasix and Aldactone to strip every drop of water from under his skin. On 12th March 1996, Andreas was rushed to a hospital in Graz after sudden, severe stomach pain. Surgeons opened him up and were shocked. His liver was riddled with tumors the size of ping-pong balls, crumbling at the slightest touch. His kidneys were swollen, robbed of protective fat, and his lungs were failing. Doctors tried everything: blood transfusions, emergency care. But 2 days later, at 6:30 a.m. on March 14, his heart stopped. He was only 31 years old. The autopsy painted the full picture. His heart weighed almost double the normal size at one point, 4 pounds. His liver came in at 6.6 pounds, also far too large. The bodybuilding world was stunned. Arnold Schwarzenegger himself sent a letter known as a last greeting to a friend. Number 7. Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie wasn't born a star. He grew up in Louisiana, a small-town guy who played football and later worked as a police officer.
And I've been working here for 12. Why do you still work here and you're Mr. Olympia, 2-time Mr. Olympia?
Bodybuilding wasn't even his plan at first. But once he touched the weights seriously, he chased greatness with a fire few could match. In 1990, he won Mr. Texas, and by 1991, he was a professional. Just 7 years later, the world knew him as the King, an 8-time Mr. Olympia champion from 1998 to 2005.
Ronnie Coleman. Jay Cutler has to wonder what he has to do to upset the champion.
His arms stretched nearly 24 inches, his chest close to 60. and his training videos went viral long before social media was what it is today. People still replay clips of him casually squatting 800 pounds like it was nothing. But the truth is, his body was breaking long before fans realized it. Ronnie admitted that back pain had followed him since high school, when a powerlifting injury left him with a herniated disc. Football made it worse, but he never slowed down. As the titles stacked up, so did the damage. In one workout, he remembered squatting heavily and suddenly hearing a loud pop. Another disc gave way. The pain in his back and legs became sharp, burning, unshakable. But Ronnie kept training through it.
I'm always very energetic, and I'm ready to go, and I'm ready to fight, and I'm ready to get it on.
By 1997, the first surgeries began. They didn't stop. Over the years, he endured more than a dozen major operations, spinal fusions, double hip replacements, endless procedures meant to fix what the iron had destroyed. Instead, they left him weaker. Nerve damage stole much of his ability to walk, and eventually the king of bodybuilding needed crutches, and then a wheelchair just to move around.
They've been there almost 2 years. They've pretty much done their job. All they're doing now is just causing me pain.
His battles didn't end there. Recently, he nearly lost his life to sepsis, a deadly infection, only surviving because his daughter called 911 in time. Now, he still trains lightly, runs his supplement brand, and keeps his trademark positivity. But the price of chasing superhuman strength remains written across his body. The king sits not on a throne, but in a chair, forever marked by the weight of his own greatness. Number 6. George Peterson. George Tikuam Depui Bull. Peterson had a back so wide it looked like it could block out the stage lights. Born on 20th June 1984 in Queens, New York, George didn't start lifting weights to win trophies. At first, he just wanted to strengthen his karate kicks, but everything changed once he walked into Bev Francis's famous powerhouse gym. During a tough training session, a partner yelled, "Charge, Bull!" and the nickname stuck for life.
He was a truly genuine and authentic and humble and great competitor who not only had a great physique.
When the time came to compete, he cut down to 212 pounds without losing his incredible shape. His climb in the sport was fast. In 2016, he won the Eastern USA Championships, and just hours later, he became the very first NPC Nationals Classic Physique champion. That victory gave him his pro card instantly. From 2017 to 2019, George was a fan favorite at the Classic Physique Olympia, placing third 3 years in a row. Crowds loved his signature vacuum pose and a back that looked like it was carved from stone. But his biggest career highlight came on the 1st of March, 2019, when he won the Arnold Classic Physique title in Columbus and shook hands with Arnold Schwarzenegger himself. Never one to play it safe, George moved into the heavier division in 2020. He added even more size, especially in his 25-inch quads, while still keeping that signature balance and flow. The gamble worked. He took third at the Olympia and returned in 2021 with hopes of finally winning it all. But tragedy struck. On 5th October 2021, his coach Justin Miller took a final check-in photo. George looked sharp, smiling, and ready. The next day, silence. Miller entered his hotel room in Orlando and found George face down on the floor. EMTs tried, but he was gone. Just 37 years old, the autopsy revealed sudden cardiac dysrhythmia caused by high blood pressure and heart strain. Tributes poured in for the gentle giant whose energy inspired so many. Today, his Arnold Classic trophy sits at Bev Francis's gym, and his routines are still studied by young athletes learning how to move with both power and grace. Number 5. Ryan Crowley. Ryan Crowley was once known as one of Britain's most promising young bodybuilders. With a massive frame and sculpted physique, he seemed destined for greatness. But in 2021, a single moment inside the gym would completely change the course of his life. Crowley had been training with Larry Wheels, a fellow bodybuilder and powerlifter famous for his extreme lifts. The session was supposed to be another heavy push day, but as the bar came down on a 480-pound bench press, something unexpected happened. A sharp sound echoed through the gym, a sound no lifter ever wants to hear. Crowley immediately dropped the weights, clutching his chest in agony. Those around him knew something had gone terribly wrong, but no one yet realized how serious the damage really was. Doctors later confirmed what many feared. Ryan had torn his pectoral muscle, one of the worst injuries a bodybuilder can suffer.
But like, seriously, it's a very big problem in my head every day right now. And
the road ahead was never going to be easy. Within 28 hours, he was already in surgery, his career hanging in the balance. For someone who had built his identity around strength and control, suddenly being unable to move without pain was a crushing blow. Recovery didn't come smoothly either. Just weeks after his surgery, Ryan discovered he had accidentally re-torn the same muscle, this time while doing something as simple as getting dressed. For most people, this would have been the breaking point, but Crowley tried to stay optimistic, sharing his journey on Instagram. Still, his words revealed the emotional toll. Everything except the chest is nearly normal now, but my mind can't go to that dark place yet, and my body just doesn't work like it used to. Even as his body healed, the psychological scars remained. For nearly 2 years, he kept fighting through setbacks, determined to prove that the injury would not define him. In September 2023, he finally posted his first posing update since the accident. It wasn't the same Ryan Crowley who once dominated the stage, but it was a man who had fought through unimaginable pain to stand tall again. Number 4. Paul Dillard. Paul Dillard's story is one of those bodybuilding moments that fans never forget, not because of a trophy or a pose, but because of the night he almost lost everything on stage.
Toronto Argonauts of the Canadian Football League. This is 26-year-old Paul Dillette.
Like many competitors, Paul followed the classic prep routine, cutting carbs, dropping water, and pushing his body to look razor-sharp under the lights. It's the kind of preparation that leaves muscles dry, veins popping, and judges impressed. But behind that sculpted exterior, the body often teeters on the edge of collapse. In 1994, during the Arnold Classic, Paul was pushing through his routine like every other competitor. The crowd saw a bodybuilder in peak form, but what they didn't see was the silent storm brewing inside. Suddenly, mid-performance, Paul crumpled to the ground. At first, people thought it was exhaustion, or maybe the typical effects of cutting water too hard. But this was far more serious. His heart had stopped, and backstage chaos broke out. EMTs fought to bring him back, but even inserting an IV was nearly impossible. His body was so dehydrated that veins collapsed under the needle. Paul later explained that the real cause wasn't just the starvation or dehydration everyone assumed, but a dangerous chemical imbalance. His calcium levels had spiked too high, while magnesium had dropped too low. That imbalance was enough to throw his heart into failure. For a full minute, Paul was clinically dead. When he finally woke up in the hospital, doctors told him the truth. They had revived him from cardiac arrest. Legally, for that 1 minute, he hadn't been alive. Paul described how surreal it felt to hear those words. After that, he admitted, "I was never the same." Even though he continued to train and compete, the shadow of that collapse never left his mind. For Paul, the lesson was permanent. Every prep afterward carried the memory of lying helpless, his body shutting down on stage. He knew the risk hidden beneath the shredded look, the balance between pushing limits and protecting health. Number 3. Danielle Seccarecci. Danielle Seccarecci looked less like a man and more like a marble statue come to life. Born on 10th June 1980 in Lavoro, Italy, he wasn't always chasing muscle. At 16, he first picked up weights to get stronger for judo. But once he saw how quickly his body transformed under the barbell, his path changed forever. 4 years later, he shocked everyone by winning the Venice Beach Grand Prix. By the time he was 26, he was a professional, carrying an off-season weight of more than 320 pounds and stepping on stage just under 300. That size didn't just turn heads, it made history. In 2010, the Guinness World Records officially recognized him as the heaviest competitive bodybuilder in the world. His arms stretched nearly 22 inches around, and when he hit a rear double biceps pose, his back flared out like massive wings. Fans loved the spectacle, even when judges didn't always place him high. His biggest career victory came at the IFBB Grand Prix in Toronto in 2004. Though he fought for years in European shows, at one point missing Olympia qualification by just a single point. But life in the spotlight wasn't always bright. In 2011, police in Milan arrested him for allegedly selling anabolic steroids under false prescriptions. Court files claimed he dealt insulin and growth hormone. He was briefly placed under house arrest, but released within a week due to health complications. Even with the controversy hanging over him, Danielle didn't quit. He returned to the stage in 2013, placing 6th at the Nordic Pro in Finland, right behind rising talent Alexei Lesukov. For Danielle, just being back in competition felt like a win. But only days later, tragedy struck. On 4th September 2013, after flying home to Toronto, he collapsed in the kitchen of his apartment. His mother was the one who found him, but by the time emergency responders arrived, it was too late. He was just 33 years old. Doctors ruled it a sudden heart attack, and later discovered he had quietly suffered another week before. Number 2. Cedric McMillan. Cedric McMillan wasn't your typical mass monster. He didn't just aim to be the biggest guy on stage, he aimed to bring back the art of bodybuilding. Cedric carried size, but what set him apart was his flow. His physique looked like it belonged on a Golden Age poster, only scaled up for modern times. Wide sweeping legs, a tight waist, and poses that looked more like dance than muscle flexing. That was Cedric's signature. Born on 17 August 1977 in Maplewood, New Jersey, Cedric grew up sketching superheroes before he became one in real life. At 18, he joined the United States Army and worked his way up to Sergeant First Class. Stationed at Fort Jackson in South Carolina, he trained recruits by day and trained his body by night. Even with his massive frame, Cedric could run obstacle courses alongside soldiers half his size, proving he wasn't just muscle, he was an athlete. His breakout came in 2017 at the Arnold Classic in Ohio. While others relied on brute size, Cedric brought grace. His transitions flowed, his physique looked balanced, and the crowd felt his presence. When Arnold Schwarzenegger shook his hand on stage and handed him the $38,000 prize, Cedric wasn't just a winner. He was a symbol of old-school bodybuilding reborn. Fans loved him because he wasn't chasing freakish size alone. He was chasing beauty, balance, and inspiration. But behind the success, struggles were brewing. In 2020, Cedric caught COVID-19. Though he survived, the after effects hit him hard: fatigue, pneumonia, and even fluid around his heart. His resting pulse sometimes dropped into the 30s. He laughed it off, joking about ripping hospital wires off his chest, but the truth was more serious. Doctors put him on a ventilator for 3 days. Cedric made it through, but he was never fully the same. By 2021, breathing issues forced him to skip shows, but he kept training with the same passion. In early 2022, he decided to push himself back into cardio. On 12th April, while running on a treadmill at Fort Jackson, Cedric collapsed. Medics tried, but couldn't bring him back. At 44, the bodybuilding world lost a true artist.
Coach Greg and I have some very sad news to report. Cedric McMillan has passed away.
Arnold called him a hero, not just for his physique, but for the man he was inside and outside the uniform. Number 1. Greg Plitt. Greg Plitt lived life as if every second mattered. He wasn't just about muscles or looks. He carried himself like a soldier who had stepped off the battlefield but never left behind the discipline, the drive, or the hunger to do more. After serving as an Army Ranger, Greg shifted gears into the fitness world and quickly became someone you couldn't miss. His face and body appeared everywhere, on more than 250 magazine covers and in campaigns for huge brands like Under Armour, Calvin Klein, and Old Spice. To him, fitness wasn't just about looking good. It was about inspiring people to push past limits they thought were impossible. Hollywood also came calling. With his striking presence and powerful energy, Greg landed roles in movies like Terminator Salvation and The Good Shepherd. But his biggest stage wasn't always the big screen. It was in the way he spoke to people. Greg had this fiery belief that showing up, giving your all, and refusing excuses was the only path to success. If you give it all you have, you'll unlock potential you never knew existed, he once said. Those words didn't just sound motivational. They were the way he lived every single day. Greg wasn't satisfied with being just a face in magazines. He created fitness programs, wrote training guides, and built an entire brand around his no excuses lifestyle. His videos reached millions worldwide, fueling countless transformations. Recognized by Men's Fitness as one of the 25 fittest Americans, he wasn't only about physical strength. He carried an energy that made people believe in themselves. But with his drive for perfection came risks. On 17th January 2015, Greg was filming a workout video in Burbank, California. Always pushing for intensity and realism, he ran on active train tracks, aiming to capture the perfect shot of outrunning a train. Witnesses later shared that he was trying to make the scene look more powerful, more dramatic. The train conductors saw him, blasted the horn, and slammed the brakes, but it was too late. At just 37 years old, Greg Plitt's relentless pursuit ended in tragedy.
George Plitt Jr., who went by the name Greg, was killed while filming his latest fitness commercial on train tracks in Southern California on Sunday.
His death was heartbreaking, but his life left behind a powerful legacy. Greg showed the world how far passion, discipline, and self-belief can take you. We hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more amazing stories.